Did you know that 7-Eleven started out as an ice store? Or that 2-ply toilet paper is nowhere near enough to protect your fingers from fecal matter? Well, get ready to have your mind blown, because I'm diving into the wildest, weirdest, and most unexpected random facts in the world. From the time AI art almost ruined science to the International Hair Freezing Contest, when I say random, trust me, I mean it. I'm Mike with List 25, and without further ado, here are 25 random facts about everything. And then some. 25. Thomas Edison almost gave the Statue of Liberty a voice. You might know Thomas Edison as the inventor of the light bulb, but did you know he also wanted to turn the Statue of Liberty into a giant speaker? Edison wanted to install a massive phonograph inside the statue to broadcast speeches that could be heard all the way across New York Harbor, a dream most politicians today would have loved. Unfortunately for Edison, and fortunately for us, his plan was not approved. 24. 7-Eleven started out as an ice store. Before 7-Eleven signs dotted every corner, there was the Southland Ice Company, a small operation in rural Texas that did exactly what its name suggests: sold ice. By 1927, they also started selling milk, eggs, and basic groceries alongside the ice, and Joe Thompson, the founding director, realized their potential. He figured people would rather make a quick stop at a nearby store than drive all the way to a larger grocery store, and he was right. Thompson eventually bought the Southland Ice Company, rebranded it as Southland Corporation, in the process changing the convenience store game forever. 23. Porn has a nasty habit of popping up in the most inconvenient places. Porn has a knack for popping up in the most unexpected and utterly inappropriate places. Whether it's due to a hacker with a twisted sense of humor or just plain old mistakes, these incidents are usually as shocking as they are hilarious. For instance, in Germany, a hacker once hijacked a supermarket screen meant for daily specials and instead broadcasted a sex channel. Definitely not the kind of special shoppers were hoping for. Then there was the unfortunate priest in Northern Ireland who, during a primary school meeting, accidentally displayed X-rated photos to a room full of parents. Or the French preschool teacher who thought she was putting on a cartoon, but instead played hardcore porn for her young students. Peppa Pig was never the same. But the crown jewel of accidental erotica has to be the 2009 Super Bowl, where 37 seconds of porn interrupted the game, leaving viewers with a whole new definition of the word sack. No, I won't elaborate. 22. Pajamas have come so far. The word pajama originally comes from Hindi and Urdu, where it referred to loose pants tied around the waist, a popular fashion in India. When the British colonized the region, they took the comfy style back home. Fast forward a bit, and today you can find a version of the word in almost any language, whether it's bijama in Arabic or pijama in Hungarian. Even languages like Basque and Irish have their own versions. What's wild is that these languages already had words for sleepwear. Yet, pajama managed to take over, becoming the go-to term worldwide. You can just about compare to the effect we'd have if kilt suddenly became the universal word for skirts. I mean, strange, but kind of awesome, right? 21. Your heart rate and fear. Most people think they get scared first and then their heart starts racing. But it's actually the other way around. Your heart speeds up first and then your brain goes, "Whoa, hold up, I must be scared." Researchers at Stanford University found that our bodies release adrenaline when we see something dangerous, making our hearts beat faster, often before we realize what's even going on. But here's the kicker. Depending on what you're seeing, your racing heart might also make you nervous or excited. So even though our bodies have more control over our emotions than we previously believed, we still have a long way to go before we'll understand all the intricacies of human emotions. Hey guys, just jumping in here real quick to tell you some exciting news. You know how you love watching our videos for amazing facts? Well, what if I told you that you could also have 500 amazing facts in the palm of your hand? That's right, we wrote a book. This one right here. What the facts are you talking about? And you can order it right now and have List 25 right in your library or on your coffee table or wherever it is you keep your books. It's available right now on Amazon, so click the link in the description and grab yourself and friends and family a copy today. 20. Fear really is contagious. Speaking of your body controlling your emotions, did you know fear can actually spread from person to person, just like a cold? We might not sniff out emotions as easily as animals do, but humans definitely have a nose for feelings. It's not that we could smell emotions themselves, but we can pick up on the chemical signals that go with them. In one fascinating study, researchers placed a bunch of men in movie theaters. One group had to watch a horror movie. That sounds awful. While the other half watched something totally gross. They then asked women, because they're naturally more responsive to scent signals from men, to sniff the sweat left behind. Depending on which group's scent they inhaled, they reacted with fear or disgust, nailing it every time. 19. A short and curly history on pubic wigs. Pubic wigs, or merkins, have been around since the 1400s. Back then, women wore them to protect themselves from lice. Fast forward to the Victorian era, and prostitutes were using them to hide signs of venereal diseases. And believe it or not, merkins are still around today, even in Hollywood, where they're used to cover up actors during nude scenes. And they're more popular than ever. At the 2024 Maison Margiela Haute Couture show in Paris, John Galliano's collection featured models in sheer lace and tulle dresses, all sporting merkins underneath. These merkins, made from real human hair intricately embroidered onto silk tulle, give the illusion of exposed pubic hair. Drastic? Maybe. Fashionable? Well, you be the judge. 18. Even 2-ply isn't enough. This might be one fact you'll hate me forever for, but here it goes. Fecal matter can actually get through 10 layers of toilet paper. So the next time you're wondering about that yearly summer outbreak of the stomach flu, remember, 2-ply doesn't even cut it. And seriously, don't forget to wash your hands. Or for some of you, it's not forgetting, you just don't do it. God, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in a public restroom, especially at like Disney. Wash your hands, dear God. You gross people. 17. The heroic cats. Cats usually get a bad rap for being self-centered, but they can be just as heroic as dogs. In 2012, a cat that was just adopted from a shelter saved its new owner's life during a diabetic seizure. The cat nudged and bit the woman until she woke up, and then went to get her son for help. In 2018, an even more amazing story happened in Argentina. A 1-year-old boy who had been lost was found being cared for by feral cats. The cats kept him warm, fed him, and even protected him from police when they arrived. 16. Mirrors cause hallucinations. There's an old Halloween trick that's got scientists intrigued. Try this after the video. Sit in a dark room about 3 feet away from a mirror and stare at your reflection for 10 minutes. Keep the lighting just low enough that you can still see your face. At first, you'll notice tiny distortions in your face. But as time goes on, your reflection might start to look weird, almost like a wax figure. Some people even see other faces or strange creatures staring back at them. Scientists are studying this creepy effect to understand more about our sense of self and identity. Psychologists even think that it could help people with schizophrenia by encouraging them to face their other selves. 15. The Himalayan Viagra. Okay, this next story is not really about Viagra, but it's still one that shows the lengths men go to get an erection. In Nepal, people in remote areas don't exactly have pharmacies on every corner. They've heard of drugs like Viagra, but can't get their hands on it. So instead, they found a natural solution, an incredibly rare fungus called Yarzagumba that grows on dead caterpillars. I know, someone had to have tried several fungi before they realized that eating this fungus had impressive results, but to make a long story short, it became known as Himalayan Viagra. Obviously, men started foraging for Yarzagumba to make a quick buck on the side. Not to mention that it probably boosted their bedroom performance, and it led to some intense rivalries. So much so that in 2011, 2 groups of foragers clashed over the prized fungus, and it turned deadly. 7 men died. 14. An unfortunate spell check fail. Planning a wedding takes a lot of work. Venues, dresses, invitations, and a million other little details. Ask anyone who's ever been there, and they'll tell you that something always goes wrong. One couple learned this the hard way when Spellcheck messed up their wedding itinerary. They had everything planned out, including serving hors d'oeuvres while guests waited for the wedding photos. But Spellcheck changed hors d'oeuvres to horse ovaries. By the time the reception started, the typo had gone viral. People were sharing it online with funny captions like, "Can't wait for 3:30. What wine pairs well with horse ovaries?" And no wonder they banned phones. Horse ovaries aren't for public consumption. Luckily, horse ovaries was spelled correctly. I mean, that's something, right? 13. Your hair has a nose for smells too. Think your nose is the only part of your body that can sniff out smells? Think again. In 2018, researchers found that hair follicles actually have the same smell receptors as those in your nose. These receptors can detect odors and send signals to your brain, letting you know if a sweet donut is nearby or if the trash needs to be taken out. What's really amazing is that your hair follicles have a particular fondness for sandalwood. A synthetic version called Sandalore has been proven to excite hair follicles, and scientists now believe it could be a game changer for the hair growth industry. In tests, this synthetic compound boosted the production of keratin, the protein that keeps hair looking good, reduced the death rates of keratinocytes, the cells responsible for hair growth, and slowed down hair loss. 12. There's an international hair freezing contest. Well, since I'm on the topic of hair, let's talk about a truly frosty competition. In Canada's Yukon, the annual Yukon Sourdough Rendezvous Festival features a variety of winter sports. Athletes often soak in the Takini hot springs to ease their sore muscles after their events, and soon discovered that when you're sitting in these hot springs, the steam from the water meets the freezing cold air, naturally turning your hair into stunning icy sculptures. The phenomenon soon led to an interesting spin-off, the International Hair Freezing Contest. Now, each February and March, people from around the globe come to compete, showcasing their creative, ice-cold hairdos. Though the frozen strands look impressive, they melt away with just one dip underwater. And the best part? No hair has ever been harmed in the contest, and bald people with wigs are welcome to join in on the fun. Just no merkins, please. 11. Candles can seriously harm your health. You might want to think twice before lighting up your favorite scented candle. A lot of those budget-friendly ones are made from paraffin, which is a byproduct of petroleum. When you burn them, they release a toxin called toluene that can mess with your DNA and nervous system. And it's not just the paraffin. Those sweet fragrances and colors can give off more soot, which might contain things like zinc, tin, and lead. If you're only burning candles every now and again, you're probably okay. But if you're lighting them up all the time in enclosed spaces, it might be time to switch to some soothing music instead. 10. The thirstiest nut in town. We all love nibbling on nuts. It's a sentence I never thought I'd say, but have you ever thought about their hidden cost? I'm not talking about the price. It's the massive amount of water they need that might surprise you. For instance, growing just one almond requires roughly a gallon or 3.78 liters of water. Some sources suggest it could be as much as 3 gallons per almond. To put that into perspective, California's annual almond harvest could supply Los Angeles with water for 3 years. And that's just considering the staggering 1.2 million tons of almonds harvested in the 2022-2023 season alone. That is a lot of water for a nut. 9. We've been gambling for thousands of years. We've been gambling for a really long time. New archaeological evidence in the form of six-sided dice-like objects has shown that people played games of chance in ancient Mesopotamia as far back as 3000 BCE. But experts believe gambling goes back even further than that, probably thousands of years. We just haven't found any older evidence yet. What we do know is that ancient Mesopotamians used gambling to ask the gods for guidance or interpret signs. And they weren't alone. The ancient Egyptians played a game called Senet, which wasn't just about luck and fun, it was also a way to see if the gods were on their side. Basically, part gambling, part fortune-telling. 8. Female gladiators fought just like the men. Topless. So, here's a fascinating little tidbit. When women started competing in the arena, they had to wear the same outfits as the male gladiators, which meant going topless. Their gear included a loincloth that could easily fly up during the heat of battle, revealing even more than just their chests. They also wore helmets and armor on their shins and carried shields and swords to defend themselves. After the battle, they'd take off their helmets so the audience could see their faces and raise their swords in a victory salute. While historians say the partial nudity was probably just practical for fighting, it's hard to ignore that most of the audience was male. So it's possible that at least a few of them were excited by more than just the fighting. 7. Death by chocolate. Trust me, it is so much worse than it sounds. In 2002, 19-year-old Yanni Corden was found submerged in a 4,500 liter or 1,200 gallon vat of melted chocolate at a candy factory located in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. Investigators believe that Corden was working on a platform near the vat when he slipped and fell in. The worst part is that since no one saw him fall, it's unclear how long he was laying at the bottom of the vat before his coworkers discovered him. And if you think it was a one-off, think again. In 2009, a man called Vincent Smith faced a similar fate at Cocoa Services Inc. in New Jersey. Smith was adding chocolate to a vat from a high platform when a mixing blade knocked him in. Despite efforts to save him, he was found dead by the time they pulled him out. 6. The smiley face emoticon dates all the way back to 1982. Back then, Scott Fahlman, a computer science professor and researcher at Carnegie Mellon University, was chatting on a primitive online message board. One day he typed out, and just like that, the smiley face was born. Nobody could have guessed that his quick idea would spark a worldwide phenomenon. Decades later, the smiley's legacy is more alive than ever and has even been used in a very famous Twitter/X spat or two. 5. We might have found a piece of Buddha's skull. No, not us here at List 25. Archaeologists might have stumbled upon a piece of the Buddha's skull. They discovered it in a 1,000-year-old stupa buried in a crypt beneath the Grand Baoan Temple in Nanjing, China. This stupa wasn't just any old container. It was crafted from intricately carved sandalwood and adorned with silver, gold, and various precious stones like crystals, glass, lapis lazuli, and agate. Inside, alongside what could have been the Buddha's skull, were also the bones of other Buddhist saints. The inscriptions on the stupa dated back to the reign of Emperor Zhenzong during the Song Dynasty, 997 to 1022 CE. According to tradition, after the Buddha's cremation, King Ashoka of India divided his remains into 84,000 parts. China received 19 of these relics, including the Buddha's parietal bone. The original temple housing these remains was destroyed in warfare over 1,400 years ago, making this find incredibly significant. 4. The Dolphin Eaters. A midden is basically an ancient trash pile, and the one found on Pedro Gonzalez Island in Panama has revealed something truly grim. Archaeologists have discovered that around 6,000 years ago, the island's first inhabitants were dolphin eaters. It's a first for Central America, even though similar dolphin eating practices have been found in Japan and Mexico. The big question is whether these early islanders hunted the dolphins or just found them washed up on the beach. No spears or nets have been found, but one dolphin skull did have a puncture wound. Some archaeologists believe that the islanders possibly even used canoes to guide dolphins onto the beach through the Gulf of Panama's U-shaped entrance in order to hunt and kill them. 3. The enormous size of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is massive and comes with about 1.8 trillion pieces of trash. Now, I might not be able to tell you exactly how they counted all that trash, but we do know how they figured out its size. The GPGP covers around 618,000 square miles, or 1.6 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective, it's more than twice the size of Texas, or about 3 times the size of France. Just picture Texas times 2 and you'll get the picture. Because the patch moves around, scientists couldn't rely on only satellites to measure it. Instead, they used 30 boats with hundreds of nets to collect data and even had a plane fly over to map it. It's inexact, of course, since trash is constantly added to the pile and the currents move things around, but even though it's always changing shape, that's roughly how big it is as far as science is concerned. 2. The dildo market is massive. You might be surprised to learn that dildos have been around for thousands of years. Archaeologists have even dug up a 28,000-year-old stone that might have doubled as a prehistoric sex toy. Today, dildos are more diverse than ever, available in every shape and size you can imagine. One sex toy factory in LA produces an impressive 15,000 every day, which totals around 5 million a year. And that's just one factory. With hundreds of similar operations worldwide, that's a whole lot of dildos. I'm really excited to see which of my family members watch this one. Damn it. Awesome. 1. AI art almost ruined science. Well, since I just covered dildos, I figured it couldn't get any worse if I told you about the epic 2024 blunder where a scientific journal accidentally published an image of a rat with a hilariously oversized penis. No, it wasn't a joke. It was an AI-generated image from Midjourney meant to show how scientists extract stem cells from rat testes. Instead, readers got a rat with a ridiculously big member and 4 enormous testes. The journal, Frontiers in Cell and Developmental Biology, quickly realized their mistake and yanked the image, admitting that it didn't meet their, quote, standards of editorial and scientific rigor. I think it's safe to say that while the rat was just a piece of digital art, the embarrassment was very, very real. So, there you have it. I promised crazy and random, and you know what? I delivered. If you enjoyed today's video, you'll absolutely love the one we did a while ago on 25 fascinating facts even trivia experts don't know. Trust me, there are facts, and then there are facts so mind-blowing they'll make your brain do a backflip. From a woman caught smuggling drugs in her breast implants and the 1964 leprechaun hunt to a very peculiar signalman baboon. If that sounds like your cup of tea, just click on this link right here.